Hello, thank you for tuning in to this 2024 General Election Candidate Forum for the Thurston County Commissioner, District 2 and 4. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County in collaboration with Thurston Community Media. The League of Women Voters is proud to be a nonpartisan group, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public to defend our democracy and empower voters. Our membership is open to all voters in Thurston County. If you're interested in knowing more about joining the Thurston League, we encourage you to check out our website at www.lwvthurston.org. I am Carrie-Ann McMichael with the League, and I will be moderating this forum. Maggie Lott will be our timer. The County Commission is described on their website as the county's legislative authority. The 5 commissioners are elected to 4-year terms and serve as the chief administrators for several important county operations, including oversight of the county's budget. The 3 candidates participating in this forum are Rachel Dreon and JW Foster from District 2, and Wayne Fournier from District 4. Rob Laymon, the other candidate from District 4, was invited but did not respond. For this forum, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a series of questions. We will call on candidates by alphabetical order, and they will take turns being the first one to answer the questions. Each question will relate to only one subject, and candidates should answer the questions posed. Candidates will also be given a 1-minute closing statement. Candidates, you will have 1 minute to respond to each question. If you need me to repeat the question, don't hesitate to ask. The timer will turn to yellow when you have 15 seconds left, and then we'll show a stop sign when it is your turn to stop. If you don't notice the sign, I will tell you. We stress the importance of civility in our forums. You each have received the ground rules for the forum and have agreed to abide by them. Beginning with Rachel Dreon, the first question is, what particular skills do you bring to this position?
Sure. I'm Rachel Dreon, and I am coming to this position with years of experience working at local, federal, and state agencies. I've worked as a strategic operations administrator. I've operationalized facilities. I've worked at the Healthcare Authority as the Medicaid finance chief, overseeing big budgets there. But mostly the skills that I bring that I think are important here are the skills of thinking big and kind of working towards making the impossible possible. I think it's really important that we put energy and effort into thinking strategically about some of our county's most pressing issues. Ultimately, I really hope to bring the other piece is lived experience. So for me, I am actually someone who struggled when I was young and had to use resources in Thurston County. So I'm going to bring that voice to Thurston County.
JW Foster.
Well, thank you, Carrie. So I have spent the last 25 to 30 years here in Thurston County developing skills and building relationships with people in the local and municipal, county, state, regional organizations. I was the mayor of Yelm for 5 years and on the city council 4 years before that, and planning commission before that. I was the chair of the regional planning council and have developed a lot of knowledge and experience that I think is going to be very useful in the conversations with the other commissioners in guiding us forward. Considering Thurston County's issues with Thurston County's budget to bring a better life to everybody here in Thurston County.
Wayne Fournier.
What skills do I bring? I spent the last 10 years as, roughly, I'm rounding up, as the mayor of Tenino, and previous to that, I was a city council member for the city of Tenino. And I spent the last year as your District 4 county commissioner. It takes a lot of time to build up a skill set that's applicable to a job like this. It's not always easy to identify what those things are, but the things that I do believe I bring to the table, I'm a facilitator, I'm a good mediator, and I have a lot of relationships that I've built with local leaders that I can kind of bring into the fold. And that's helpful when it gets to when you're making regional decisions and you're having to work with partners across borders. Having those relationships are key. Otherwise, you're kind of flying blind, helping make decisions for the county. So I do believe I bring that to the table, and I've shown that over the last year. So.
Thank you. Beginning with JW Foster, the next question is, do you think local jurisdictions should address climate change in their growth management comprehensive plan updates? Please explain why or why not.
Oh, so absolutely. There's no doubt now that we are in a cycle on the planet of increasing temperatures. It's going to change things in ways that we don't even understand because we haven't lived that experience yet. But the scientists are pretty clear in demonstrating as the temperature goes up, we'll have very important changes from sea level rise to drying out of agricultural lands. It's going to be something that we have to struggle with over a period of time. So we need to be looking far into the future to see what kind of effects we'll have on our lived environment, that we can start changing those things now. So, for example, in downtown Olympia, we know that the sea level is going to rise up, and it's going to impact our business district downtown. Out on the agricultural lands, we're going to have to consider where do we get our water when the mountain loses its glaciers and the aquifers become more shallow and less abundant. So, yeah, every municipality needs to look at those issues and build their plan forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne Fournier.
Yeah, the easy, simple answer is yes. I think I could leave it at that. But you know, it's not just that I think it should be included in the comp plan; it's required. So I think that's important to note that that's something that the state law requires us to consider. That's something that the county's working on now, is revising their comp plan. I hold regular meetings with our climate mitigation director or program manager, and I know I'm not a scientist. You know, that's not something that I have experience in. So I look to experts, and I meet with her regularly, and I you know, my job is to empower those folks to be able to look at our policies and, you know, our strategies through that lens. So whether it's, you know, the DEI work or climate work or law enforcement, you know, justice stuff, those are things I'm not an expert in. So it's important to surround yourself with experts and empower them.
Thank you. Rachel Dreon.
Sure. As Wayne said, yes, you know, I do believe that we need to think about all of those things. You know, for being the new kid on the block and being the person that is the newest to understanding all of the components of the comprehensive plan, I've spent quite a bit of time in the last several months working with different folks to learn, to reach out and understand each of the pieces. And one of the things that I think is really important around the comprehensive plan that they're working on right now, you know, is the fact that it needs to align with all of the other plans that are happening across the county. You know, inside that plan, they're looking at transportation. The comprehensive plan, you know, looks at transportation. It looks at roads. It looks at all of these different pieces. And climate change affects everything. It affects housing. We need to protect our open spaces. We need to build a sustainable and equitable future, you know, and really be considering all of our choices, you know, against what's happening with the environment.
Thank you. Beginning with Wayne Fournier, the third question is, what are your thoughts on how to meet the need for the new water sources for projected growth?
Say that again. Please.
What are your thoughts on how to meet the need for new water sources for projected growth?
You know, water rights are a difficult issue. In the county, individual wells are exempt. Within municipalities, you have, you know, there's certain calculations with how much water that municipality can draw. Right, you know, and we're in a closed basin, so it's hard to find new water rights. Right now, and yesterday I spent the entire day touring the Chehalis Basin with the Chehalis Basin group, and you know, probably the biggest thing that's coming on the pipeline is with the shutdown of TransAlta. the Skookumchuck Dam in Trans-Alta has a tremendous amount of ERUs that are going to become available to the area. So helping them work out a strategy where they can kind of harness those and not lose those water rights is something that I'm participating with the Chehalis Basin on. So, kind of identifying where the rights are, making sure that our community can collect those, grab onto those, and make those as useful resources to our development is going to be important.
Thank you. Rachel Dreon.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What are your thoughts on how to meet the need for new water sources for projected growth?
For new water sources, projected growth. Okay. I would essentially, we have many water sources in Thurston County, and we are consistently looking at, how are we overtaxing them? What kind of environmental, when we talk about the comprehensive plan, the environmental impacts of, and what can we actually do to preserve the ones we have now, like adding, natural vegetation and really looking at, our roads and surfaces but I think for me, I have to actually learn more about, this subject, and I need to get out and start looking at, who currently has rights. I just spoke with someone out in Yelm about what's happening with a current waterway that was, put in and providing water down to the Chehalis Basin. And I'm learning about all of those different ways that the different jurisdictions impact. And so I think looking closely at how we can work together across the different jurisdictions will be what I'm going to try to figure out how to do.
Thank you. JW Foster.
Thank you, Kiri. So the problem is we don't really have new water sources, and we need to be very careful to conserve the water that we have now. My experience is unfortunately vast in this area, because in the city of Yelm, we were told by the Growth Management Act that we had to increase our population, but the other side of the coin was we didn't have the water to do so. So we applied to the Department of Ecology and Department of Health for more water rights. It literally took us 25 years to gain those new water rights, which we did eventually. But in the process, we learned how to conserve water. That was really important to demonstrate to the state that we were using our water effectively. And so we dropped our water loss down to way under the acceptable lower limit by conserving water, finding our leaks, helping our water customers use the water more effectively. And that's where we have to start. And then we can talk about tapping into new aquifers or something like that to get more water.
Thank you. Returning to Rachel Dreon, the next question is, how do you think the Growth Management Act can be used to protect rural and agricultural land from development for commercial and industrial purposes?
Sure. That's what the act was intended for. We're for those reasons. So how it does that is, currently requires all of the different jurisdictions to look at comprehensive planning every 10 years or so. And to make sure that whatever planning, I think as far as the Growth Management Act goes, that we have to put goals and smart growth goals, and put things in that are actually looking at if we're going to preserve, the urban, the boundaries. And ultimately, we really have to manage growth proactively, and we have to look at how is the Growth Management Act working towards managing? I'm not answering this very well. Anyway, but ultimately we need to work to manage growth, and I don't know. I'm just not answering this one well, so I'm going to leave it there.
Well, thank you.
No, I got completely lost in my mind. Yeah.
JW Foster.
So the basis for the Growth Management Act was to try to get folks to infill in the urban area so you could provide services to them more effectively. If each one of them, for example, put a straw into the aquifer to draw water up, 1,000 individual wells is so less effective and efficient than developing a municipal water system that everybody can be served from. That's part of it. If you have a fire and EMS and law enforcement response that has to go out way out through the county to serve everybody, it becomes less efficient, less effective. You want to put those services closer in. So the Growth Management Act is a good tool, But on the other side of it, you have people who have had properties in their families for a very long time, and we want to protect those personal property rights. If we're going to take something away from them and say you can't build in a certain area because of the Growth Management Act and zoning, then we have to find a way to make them whole. And I believe that's something the county commissioners have some authority over, so we'll work on that.
Thank you. Wayne Fournier.
Would you mind asking the question again, please?
Yes. How do you think the Growth Management Act can be used to protect rural and agricultural land from development for commercial and industrial purposes?
Yeah, so that's exactly what the GMA is intended to do and what it does. It has been the law of the land since the mid '90s, and what its goal is to kind of prevent urban sprawl. So it does that. Where I kind of get interested in is the gray area, which is the urban growth areas. So kind of that's where the cities are projected to grow into, and that's where the county has jurisdiction. And so making sure that the county's rules and regulations are complementary or in line with the municipality's rules and regulations that will eventually grow into that are important, so that you don't end up with growth that isn't going to align with the municipality's abilities and the municipality's own rules, because you can kind of get some weird things going on in there. I've prompted the county to start doing research into the UGAs, especially around the cities in South Thurston County, to analyze those and make sure that those are going to work in the future.
Thank you. Beginning with JW Foster, the fifth question is, how would you use your position to foster positive relationships with other county officials during times of public conflict?
Well, I just love the fact that you used the word foster in that question. So I have been developing these kinds of relationships, since I've lived in the county since 1988 and have been involved in local politics since about 1996. It takes a while to develop those relationships. You have to be a good listener. You have to listen to understand, and then you have to speak to support that understanding. So bringing those conversations together is what I did at the Thurston Regional Planning Council level. It's certainly what I did as mayor of Yelm and bringing a disparate council together to move forward on very important issues. And it's a continuous effort. You really have to be willing to have the conversations, take the time to get involved, be everywhere, and tell people that their work is just as important as the work that you're trying to get done, so that together you can get more work done for the whole community.
Thank you. Wayne Fournier.
Yeah, thank you. So that kind of work is something that is important to understand, that you don't start it in the crisis. So if you don't just start trying to foster that relationship in difficult times. It needs to be something that started years prior for it to actually be meaningful. And so I've done that. I've spent the time working on that. The kind of the colleagues that I've made relationships with, it's evidenced in the endorsements that I've received. So over the last 10 to 15 years, building relationships with different organizations and different individuals that are in leadership throughout the county, state, and country. You need to be able to bring those to bear in difficult times, but you can't just expect those relationships to materialize when things get difficult.
Thank you. Rachel Dreon.
Sure. Actually, we repeat the question one more time.
Yes. How would you use your position to foster positive relationships with other county officials during times of public conflict?
Sure. This is one of the areas in my career that I have excelled. For about 8 years, I led DSHS in different areas, working on something called the True Blood lawsuit, which is essentially how we collaborate across jails and law enforcement and different interests for people who are dealing with mental health issues in our jails. And so lots of different personalities, lots of different things. And, and for me, I have spent years and years and years trying to work to speak to others, to work with small groups, to bring people to the table and really listen and get to know them. I also show up in a way that is, ultimately full of energy and collaborative. I really do believe working together, we can figure things out no matter who's at the table. It's a skill that I've come from download as CEO and obviously have figured out how to use it, and I'm going to work really hard to get to know everybody here in Thurston County.
Thank you. Beginning with Wayne Fournier, the final question is, reports have shown that the county will need more than 54,000 homes by 2045 to accommodate for a population growth. The majority of those houses must be made for low-income families. A family of four is considered low income if they earn less than $82,000 a year. What ideas do you have to help achieve the goal of creating affordable housing for lower income households?
Well, first, you kind of stick to the plan. So we established a regional housing council, and we established a new tax to help fund that, and working with those individuals to find collaborative solutions is important. And then, I have gotten a little creative in some concepts that we're working on at the county. I've asked that we consider ADUs being available throughout Thurston County, and we're looking at that. And not only do I want to allow them, we're developing, and this is in the works and hasn't really kind of come to be fully baked yet, but developing pre-made plans. So to reduce barriers, reduce costs, if you want to create an ADU on your property and allow maybe your parents to live there with you or your children, to be able to go into the county and have pre-approved plans that you don't have to pay for, that's going to reduce costs, that's going to reduce barriers, and it'll streamline a permitting process, because infill, to me, is a good answer for accommodating those additional homes.
Thank you. Rachel Dreon.
Sure. This is something that's very, very important to me. And I live it. Anyway, so the way that we need to approach housing in Thurston County, and there's a lot of really great work going on in each of the areas. City of Olympia championing, really great new incentives for developers to create different options for low-income housing. This is critical. We're in a crisis. Housing is a human right, and people need to be able to access it. It was a big part of how I became who I am. So, we also need to look at private and public partnerships, and we need to do targeted subsidies for those who need it the most. I currently sit on the State Advisory Board for Homelessness, which essentially is the housing State Advisory Board. And I've been doing that for the last 2 years and working towards comprehensive plans that will bring low-income housing to folks. As a matter of fact, I own 2 recovery houses and provide low-income housing to 9 individuals right now.
Thank you. JW Foster.
Thank you. Yeah, so over the past decade or so, I've been on the Regional Housing Council. Before that, I served with the county and United Way on the Community Investment Partnership, and we supported the builders and developers to create that low-income level housing, that entry-level housing, to make it more attainable and sustainable for folks. There's a lot more work to be done. It has to be done at the municipal level as well as the county zoning level. Building codes have to be adopted that allow auxiliary dwelling units, ADUs, to be put on properties because it changes the scope of things. When you can put 3 residential units on a lot where previously you only had 1, that's going to help with the housing opportunities. It's also going to meet the demands of the Growth Management Act. There's room to do that. We do have to support the building industry in the effort to do that, and we can do it cooperatively with municipal and county government.
Thank you. Each candidate will now have an opportunity for a 1-minute closing statement, starting with JW Foster.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, this is capping off a very long career of public service. I started out in the Marine Corps and then did a 34-year career in the fire service as a paramedic, and then started working for my community. It's what you do. In our family, it's all about community service. The working in the schools, working with Rotary and the VFW and Dollars for Scholars, it's just my personal mission statement is to work hard at a job that supports my community and be a positive influence in the lives of people around me. I've tried to do that, and I've been very successful at that in my different roles. I am ready to go with all of my experiences and knowledge and built relationships, and I'm just looking forward to getting back to work for our community.
Thank you. Wayne Fournier.
As a father, a professional firefighter, and an active member of our community, I understand the challenges and opportunities we face. Our county is a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family, but we can do more to ensure that everyone in our community has the opportunity to thrive. I'm running for county commissioner because I believe in the power of local government to make a positive impact on our daily lives. I'm committed to bringing fresh ideas, strong leadership, and a collaborative spirit to our county's decision-making process. Here are a few ideas I will continue to focus on if reelected. I will work tirelessly to attract new businesses, support local entrepreneurs, and create good-paying jobs. Our county has incredible potential, and together we can build a vibrant economy that benefits everyone. I will ensure health and safety for our residents is a top priority. I will continue to promote sustainable development practices, protect our natural resources, and work together towards a greener, cleaner Thurston County. I believe in open, transparent government that is accountable, and I will always ensure your voices are heard, your concerns are addressed, and that you have a direct line of communication with local government.
Thank you. Rachel Dreon.
Sure. I'm gonna just I was gonna read something, but I'm not. Ultimately, I'm gonna address the one topic that has not come up at any forum that I've been at, which is health and behavioral health and substance use disorder. What I bring that's different than others is years and years of working towards, putting evidence-based practices, looking at qualitative and quantitative data, implementing strategic plans, and actually measuring outcomes in our communities to see our children thriving, our elders thriving. We need that experience on the commission. I'll just say this. So, for me, I was a single mom. I needed the help of therapeutic courts. I needed behavioral health resources. And through those, I found affordable housing. I finished my master's in public administration. I rebuilt my life. And I've spent the last decade working to make things better for people and to make things work. I will use my personal and my professional experience to create lasting change and progress in all of these areas.
Thank you. Rachel, JW, and Wayne, thank you so much for participating in this forum. We thank our partner, TCMedia, for producing and airing it. We are indebted to TCMedia for years of making these forums happen and educating the voters. We encourage our viewers to be a voter in the upcoming election on November 5th. Ballots for military personnel were mailed on September 20th, and all other ballots will be mailed on October 10th. You may register to vote up to Election Day. Every vote counts. Thank you for watching this 2024 General Election Candidate Forum.